Hey guys, and welcome to another GameXplain discussion. I'm your host, Derek Bittner, and I'm joined today by Chuggaaconroy to discuss the latest Xenoblade Chronicles X trailer and all of the details that have come out since. So Chugga, what sticks out most to you about all of this information?
Everything.
Everything? Oh, okay, it's just all important. Okay, there's no minor details whatsoever.
Well, okay, there are some like things that we've heard before, and it's really nice to hear from them again, like that this world is going to be 5 times the size of the previous game, which is just mind-blowing to think about. But it gets further emphasized by the new detail that the final test playthrough of this game took 300 hours.
That is mind-blowing. I mean, I thought the original Xenoblade Chronicles was sort of like, oh my gosh, that's just like insurmountable. But now we got X coming, and I'm just like, wow, where are you going to find the time to do all this? I mean, of course, I'm sure most of that is a lot of side quests and stuff that you don't need to do. But I don't know, with a game like this, it feels like you should do it.
Quite frankly, this is the kind of game that consumes your life. That's how the first one was for me. It's like I played it like every day for a month, and I played nothing else.
Yeah, I've still been bad. I still have yet to play the original because, well, I'm just so busy. But boy, do I want to, and boy, should I do. I really should before this game comes out, because I have a feeling, I'm not sure, but I have a feeling that once this game comes out, it's going to be a little more difficult to go back to Xenoblade Chronicles. I think Xenoblade Chronicles is still going to be a fine game, but I think there's going to be enough tweaks to this one that you can tell the difference between that one and this one, as far as how it plays.
It has a lot of things to set it apart. That actually brings us into the battle system, how they said there's going to be a bigger emphasis on speed. That the battles are going to move a lot faster.
Oh yeah, they want to do things to move a lot quicker. I believe they also said that you won't actually have any direct control over your allies. It's all going to be computer controlled, and you have up to 4 people in your party this time rather than 3 as in the original. So it's interesting that they're taking a little bit of control away from the player in order to have these allies that just sort of do their own thing.
Well, it's not that you don't have direct control over them, but as we've seen, you do have battle tactics still, where you could say, hey, focus on this enemy, come to me, attack at will, things like that. Mm-hmm. I haven't seen a translation of them, but in the Treehouse footage, there was like a list of like 12 actions you could choose from on that, and it seems like AI customization, like in Tales of games, might be a thing here as well. So you do have loose control over them, and it is more than what you had previously, but as you recall in the early footage, we saw that there was that whole chat window going on, and it looked like the characters are moving independent of each other. So it seems like if there ever was online multiplayer at some point in development, it's no longer here. They've said there are online components, but it's more of a loosely connected online world.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious what they mean by that. Loosely connected means I think maybe you'll be able to like take your avatar and send it to friends, and your friends can have your avatar and have them as an actual character with all of its abilities and things that it can do. And that way, since you have different things that you can, I guess, focus on, your character could be completely different from their character. And that's the best idea I have for this loosely connected online world.
It could be like a Street Pass in Fire Emblem Awakening, where you can recruit someone else's Robin. In this case, you'd recruit someone else's Cross for your party. Mm-hmm. That could be interesting. I don't know how out of hand that could get, though, if you were to be able to just recruit so many people's X's, but yeah, or X's Crosses, excuse me. Yeah. The Japanese name is Xenoblade Cross, so I have a hard time like getting it straight. So back to the battles, though, because we kind of like diverted a little bit. There's the fact that they've outright confirmed that there are going to be no healers in this game at all. Like, it's just going to be straight up attacking. You have ways of healing, but there's going to be no dedicated healing class.
Yeah, I mean that's. We've seen that. I've seen that in a couple other games. I think the one that comes to mind is Guild Wars 2. That had no class dedicated healing. Everybody was able to do it, and there's not really that way everybody could just get in on the action and not have to worry about healing. Now, as you said, there is a healing that can be done. Apparently, it's through a system called Soul Voice, but I'm not sure if I don't think they actually said exactly how the Soul Voice system works.
They haven't yet, and by the way, no more healers. Apparently I wasn't the only person who thought Charlotte wasn't that useful.
You just got to get that dig in there, don't you?
Okay, in all seriousness. I just thought it was kind of funny, though, because I get told all the time that, you're wrong about Charlotte, and I'm just like, no, she kind of just is there to save you when you don't understand how the game works too well. She's there to prolong your survivability early on, but, yeah. Soul Voice, there is the party gauge is still there in, like, the bottom of the screen. You have 3 segments of it, and it does say, like, soul next to it, so I assume that it still uses the same party gauge that Chain Attacks used. From what it seems like, Soul Voice is how you would heal other members of the party, and it just kind of seems like it's combining party healing with chain attacking, which would make it more useful to spend your 3 units of the party gauge to do a chain attack, rather than just hold on to your 3 revives because you'd heal the whole party by doing so. And actually, there were skills in Xenoblade Chronicles that made it so that if you did a chain attack, you would get healed after the fact. Or better yet, if you used a healing art during a chain attack, you would heal more HP.
Oh, okay. So maybe they'll integrate more of that system in there and just make it sort of the soul way of getting healed.
The soul way of getting a heal.
Aha! No, yeah, it's kind of an interesting way to like really combine the battle system and making sure you're doing well as being able to heal yourself. I have to imagine it won't be too difficult to pull off because healing is kind of important.
Yeah, people I've seen like a lot of people saying like, wait, no healers? Like what? Like you need a healer in RPGs though, but the game is likely designed, well, I mean, of course it's designed so that you don't really need one, and you can pull off healing as often as you need to by using Soul Voice. It also seems like using like the B reaction commands, there are like 2 tiers of like how well you can do them. There, is the succeeded and the English of huge succeeded, but it seems like you recover a little bit of health if you time that right as well, based on footage we've seen before from the treehouse. So it might not necessarily be only when Soul Voice is filled up that you do it, it's also when you would get that right.
Yeah, exactly. And there's actually ways, of course, to mitigate how much damage you take. We were talking about before this how, once again, we saw that if you have 2 types of range attacks that you can do as far as your range, and you can switch between them as much as you want, because these are the auto attacks that happened in Xenoblade Chronicles. Before, it was just sort of like you had that one, and that's how you auto attacked, and then you used the specials. Here you can switch between long range and close range attacks, and each has their own benefit, where the close range actually increases
the talent gauge. You get like more built up for your talent art than you would otherwise, and you also get doll fuel for it in the form of TP. Certain powerful arts need TP, but the main use of it is that it is your doll fuel.
Yeah, exactly. So there's that advantage to close range fighting. However, it also draws more aggro to you, so all these enemies are going to be focusing solely on your character. So if you don't really want to have to worry about that, or you need to back off a bit, you can switch to long range mode and you won't get as much TP or fill up the other gauges, but you won't get as much aggro as well, so you'll be a bit safer. So once again, it's a really great little risk reward system, and I love when they can find ways to like make players decide like what is worth the risk.
I still do find it a little bit amusing though that shooting an enemy with a gun does less damage and generates less aggro than just hitting them with a knife.
Isn't that weird? Yeah. Very, very strange enemies. And actually, speaking of those many enemies, apparently the number of unique monsters, as well as the equipment that you can acquire, has been greatly increased, which is sort of no duh at this point with how much bigger everything else is. But I don't know, it's very interesting to see how much bigger this game is going to be.
The first game had over 680 different enemies you could fight, so that's saying a lot.
How much you want to bet it's like 3 times that amount or something like that?
Something like it. Then it's 5 times the amount, because they have to be like, oh, it's 5 times bigger than this, it's 5 times bigger than that.
I'll tell you what, they are ambitious as all get out. I mean, they even said right off the bat that it barely fits on a Wii U disc, and you're gonna have to you actually will have the option to install support data in order to help the loading times go a bit faster.
I think I'm just going to flat out go digital with this, though, because that would probably be about the fastest way to do it, honestly.
Yeah, probably. I mean, it's. I have a feeling it's going to be a huge one, though. I mean, I have a 32 gig Wii U, but I don't even know if that's going to be big enough to handle all of it.
Yeah, I'm lucky. I got a 2 terabyte drive with an external power source, so I kind of have like the optimum of like what they recommended back when the Wii U was getting released.
Yeah, I think I might need to invest in that at some point, because there's just 32 gigs is just not enough space, especially when you're getting games like this.
Only warning is that it actually maxes out at 2 terabytes, though. I've tried using, like, bigger ones before, and it's just like, nope, sorry, don't recognize it.
Well, I hope I wouldn't fill up a 2 terabyte. Well, maybe it's possible, but I don't think there's that much to download. Well, who knows? Well, I guess we'll see.
Considering that they were saying that this game was them learning the hardware and paving the way for future projects on the Wii U,
Yeah. Very true. The other thing that actually is very interesting to me, because they've gone into more details about this, is the union system, which is basically, if you guys are at all familiar with Fantasy Life and how you could switch between different job classes and have different quests and abilities and stuff like that available to you as you play along and being able to switch along the way, the union system is pretty much exactly the same thing. And it's, I don't know, that just opens it up so much more that you can like do one kind of union job and it'll help you out in this other union job. And it's a really clever system, but it also just, again, mind-blowing how much there is to do. But you have a better grasp on what all these what all the different unions can do. So you want to tell us about that, Chugga?
Yeah, there are 8 different factions that you can accept side quests from, and it's that they all do different things. It's already been stated that your main goal in the game is that you're going to need to rebuild civilization back up on this new planet after Earth has been destroyed. So they all have different jobs. You know, you might have one that's responsible for finding stasis pods, finding people that are asleep in them, waking them up and bringing them back to town, in which case they all have different talents. You know, you need farmers to build society back up, you need workers, engineers, things like that. Mm-hmm. So everyone's got like different talents, and you do have to build it up. Similar to how Colony 6, you had to get all kinds of different people with different abilities. There's also ones that are just made to take out monsters. I assume that your monster quests just kind of belong to them, where you're trying to suppress huge beasts that are causing problems for settlements. There's other ones where you're just basically being, you have to go out and find minerals and supplies so that you can build more things in town. There's weapons researchers that build dolls, and it seems like that'll be your way of getting more mechs for your team, or better mechs for your team, or better yet, new arts for your dolls, because the dolls like have their own art palettes and everything. And
I love how there's actually a single union just called Companion, where I'm going to help out the citizens. I'm going to do it. You get to do everything from settling arguments to finding lost cats, which I think is just hilarious.
And it really is true. There are cats in the game, as we saw in the treehouse footage.
You know, I could save the world, but this little old lady really likes her cat. I'm going to go with the cat.
It's like the world's in danger, but this little girl's cat is stuck up a tree.
Yeah, exactly. Kirby, no.
Kirby's too big of a wimp to actually go outside, so.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just really like this system, and I like how it really does integrate this whole idea of trying to build up this civilization. It's not only who you find and what they can do, but you can basically choose the path that your own character goes on in order to basically focus on what you want to. And it's that it really is, and like when they said they want to make this an open world RPG, this is about as open as you can get, I think.
Yeah, they did mention that while Xenoblade Chronicles on Wii had a really big world, the design as a whole is like how you would progress in the story was linear, where you'd view the cutscenes in a certain order. There was like a set path for you to walk on. Mm-hmm. But it seems like you might even be able to do different things in the story in a different order this time, complete objectives in whichever order you want.
It makes me wonder how they're going to handle all that. Like, you know, are these just going to be like little minor things that happen as far as story is concerned, and maybe more along the lines of character development? But then you also have to wonder, like, okay, let's say a character gets development in this place, but then all of a sudden that character development is missing if you did this other thing that maybe should have happened beforehand. That's my one big concern, is like, I know Xenoblade Chronicles had a really great story, and I'm very afraid of losing that with the sheer size and openness of X.
I kind of have the same worry. It's that, while it's great that they're giving you a lot of choices, a lot of options and things like that, we have the, up to this point, the main character in all the footage we've seen has been mute, other than just calling out his attacks in battle. If you can do objectives in so many different orders, there might be less emphasis on story, and there might be less things actually going on in the story because they just simply want to give you more freedom as opposed to setting you on a straight path. But on the other hand, they have stated in interviews before that they don't want to give out many details on the story before the game is actually released. So it might just be that all the information we're getting is side quest based or just character introductions because of that.
That could be. And it is possible that there could be much more of a story than we think, because we've never seen Cross actually speak at all. Yet they have said that there are voice options for the avatar, and they are provided by some famous voice actors, at least in Japan. And if you're going to be spending the money for these famous voice actors, I'd hope you go more beyond battle cries or calling out attack names or grunts if you get hit. You think you'd put into more work than just that.
Yeah, I can agree there. It'd be really strange to, brag that, I don't know, the voice of Goku or Edward Elric or whoever is, voicing in this game and have them only just go ha, yeah, hua, yeah.
Exactly. You'd want them to have a little bit more meat to the role or something like that, To
be fair, they did say that they'll be revealing which voice actors at a later point. It could just be that they didn't want to give away, who the voice options for the main character would be. So they just have been showing only cutscenes where Cross doesn't actually speak, perhaps. Mm-hmm. I mean, it could be handled like Mass Effect, where your character does respond to other characters whenever they're asked a question, and you choose a response for them. Yeah,
that's a very good point, because they, as you said, they might just be keeping the actors closer to their vest in order to keep it. And I had me really worried at the beginning there, because you'd had these scenes with Cross, and he just sort of staring blankly at Elma, and as she talks, I'm like, oh boy, please let it not be just this complete blank slate. That's just, I don't know, for some reason I really don't enjoy that.
Don't be Twilight Princess Link, where he has no personality, and Midna was quite frankly the main character.
Exactly. We definitely do not want that.
No.
I guess going a little bit in the same direction as the Union system, we've seen it mentioned before, but this is the first time it's actually been outright stated, is the Frontier Network system, where basically as you explore and find more human pods, there is a system in place to help you find those pods. You're not just wandering around randomly trying to find them, but as you sort of increase this, I think these things called data probes, it'll basically show off where the different human pods are around the area, which I find is, I'm really glad they did that. That way, if you want to go out there and just search blindly, you can. But if you really just want to wait until your data probes are ready and you can just go pod to pod to pod to pod, you can do that as well.
It seems like you'll be able to find them in theory if you just know where they are, or if you find them completely at random. But by expanding this, it will tell you where they are. So if you're not really good at figuring out where they would be by just wandering around this gigantic world, then that makes your objectives more easy.
Yes, that would be the idea, and I like that they have this system in place, because as they've said, Mira is freaking huge. I mean, even in the trailer, they showed off these different areas, yet you could still see New Los Angeles in the background.
Yeah, specifically in that tropical region, you can see the tower from New Los Angeles way off in the distance, and from the first area is called the Primordial Wilderness. It's hard to say really quickly. I feel so bad for the voice actors that are inevitably going to have to say this with a straight face. The Primordial Wilderness, from there you can see this giant metal ring way off in the distance. And in other footage, you can see that same giant metal ring is in this desert area.
Yeah. And to have this huge interconnected world, we've seen it done in other games, but for some reason it just seems so much more impressive in this one, just because of the sheer size of everything. Watching Cross jump off the cliff next to the waterfall, I was like, oh my. I'm not a big fan of heights. That was just sort of actually got to me a little bit, just because of the sheer size of it all.
Made you feel a little bit sick.
Yeah, exactly. I remember, it's a little off topic, but when I first played Klonoa 2 for PlayStation 2, there's that one scene where you actually do go off a waterfall, and as a kid I felt my stomach going up into my chest. I'm like, oh boy. So I do get affected by that kind of thing.
I knew people that got motion sick playing Super Mario Galaxy because all the flipping and flying through the air and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I guess going on to that is something that doesn't seem to have increased quite as much is that there's actually going to be the same amount of musical tracks in this game, 90 in total. And it looks like the new composer, Sawano, is involved in some way with all of them. However, there will be more vocal tracks than what Xenoblade Chronicles had.
Yeah, Xenoblade Chronicles only actually has one vocal track. I'm not saying where.
Typically, vocal tracks seem to happen more during a lot of like more intense moments or more plot important moments. So maybe that is another clue that there's more of a story here than we originally thought or think at the moment.
Yeah, I kind of have faith that there is more story to this game, because I've seen some people saying, like, all this news is about, like, side quests. Is it's just going to be a side questing game? But they've said in the past that they just don't want to give out much detail on the story before the game is released.
To me, that tells me that they have a lot of faith in this story, that they really like what they've come up with, and they, with the way the internet is trying to decipher everything that comes out, I can see why they want to, sort of keep it to themselves. I guess one other thing is the fact that there is more gamepad support than was originally shown. The fact that you actually can use the gamepad as like the sole means, even despite the fact that you got all this data that you can look at on the gamepad. Like if you want to go to a different area, you can just tap that area on the gamepad and you'll immediately warp to it. So stuff like that. I find it interesting that they do have the option, despite having all these like integration, these uses as far as integration, you can still use it solely on the gamepad.
I don't know why you'd really want to play it on the gamepad if you had the choice, but it's nice to have the option. I know some games don't let you have the option, like Lego City Undercover didn't. Mm-hmm. But it's nice to see games using the gamepad in like different ways like that, like putting interfaces on it and keeping the screen just clear of like menus and things like that, so you can do more at once. Because first year that the Wii U was out, it was just so odd. It was like you had Nintendo Land, you had Lego City Undercover, and you had Pikmin 3, and like other than that, like no game used it. Like New Super Mario Bros. U didn't, Super Mario 3D World didn't. Games that were announced, like at the time Mario Kart 8, we knew for a fact was not going to be using the gamepad for anything but a map or a car horn.
Yeah.
And it's like, you built your entire game system around this idea, and you believe so much in it to do so, why don't you actually do something with it?
That would be the idea, you would think,
yeah,
but...
and like, Tropical Freeze doesn't even use it at all, it just turns the screen off.
Yeah, which I'm kind of grateful for. It's sort of annoying in some games how you don't use it, and then they decide to keep the gamepad on the entire time, so you kind of have to keep it plugged in order for it not to go off.
There is a turn off screen option on the options menu. At least.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize. But yeah, it's great to see. Like so far, we can see that you can see that apparently data accumulates on the gamepad as you're exploring, which you can freely access it afterwards, and some of that info actually will detail the player's position as well as where the quest can go. So it's interesting that it's basically sort of like Wind Waker, where as you're traveling, you can look at the gamepad and organize all your stuff, figure out what you want to do, and go from there.
I don't know if I mentioned this like in a previous discussion, or if I just said it like in spare time though. But I remember thinking that Xenoblade Chronicles didn't have any motion controls whatsoever, even if you play using a Wiimote. So this is probably not going to use the gamepad at all. But I'm happy to see that's not the case, and that it's taking a page, like you said, from Wind Waker HD or from games like Lego City Undercover and whatnot.
Yeah, it's good to see them taking advantage of the Wii U, and it seems like this is going to be. We've been saying it many times before, and we're both excited for it. But this really is more and more seeming like a game to really keep an eye on. The question is, do we think it's going to come out this year or not?
Well, we have gotten like confirmation like over and over again that Japan gets it on April 29th.
Oh, okay.
And our trailer did say 2015 at the end, and that's after a delay from 2014 to 2015 already.
Okay, so when do you think... So if it does come out in 2015, do you think this is going to be a fall title, a Christmas season title, or you think they're going to try to release it over the summer?
I actually, as odd as it sounds, with how few games get released over the summer, I mean, we did have Mario Kart 8 last year, and I guess technically Yoshi's New Island, which I'm not comparing this game to Yoshi's New Island, but...
No.
I actually think I would say summer. The reason for that is that, go figure, we don't have an official American site for the game or an official American Twitter, so on the Japanese Twitter account for the game, written in Japanese, they said the localization process has been well underway for a while now, it's made good progress, and they said that the release for outside Japan won't be much longer of a wait than what Japan is getting.
I think summer would be a good time too, because nothing else really comes out around that time. So it's perfect to just slap that out and get that out in like early July. That way you have 2 months to go through and not have to worry about it.
Yeah, it's going to be the only way that like college students or even like school students in general are going to be able to finish the game.
Exactly. Because, I mean, I'm predicting right now that Star Fox will come out in September, probably November for Zelda. And with those two games, you really don't want to have a 300-hour game distracting people from playing those other two. So as long as you can get Xenoblade out in July or June or sometime over the summer, that's perfect. Especially since I was predicting a summer release for Splatoon, but that's actually coming out in May, so that sort of leaves the summer wide open.
It kind of does. I don't know if it would be too close to Splatoon or not, though, because they don't really want to compete with themselves a lot of the time. Usually when they release two games on the same day, it's one 3DS, one Wii U.
Yeah, exactly.
But I still think I'd say summer.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I think we could definitely see a summer release. Watch us be completely wrong, but, you know, all signs seem to point to it at this point.
It's not really a game that I see that would be a holiday title, honestly.
No, I have a feeling it would get lost in all the other stuff that comes out.
Zelda U is going to be a holiday title.
Oh god, yeah. I mean, this is 2015 is going to be a huge year for gaming, just in general, because as we saw at E3 last year, it was always coming in 2015, coming in 2015, coming in 2015. So there's going to be a lot of big games this year, and I have a feeling summer would be the best date for them, so they don't have to worry about competing with those major releases.
Yeah. Off topic, though, but on the subject of major releases, Yoshi's Woolly World was stated last year repeatedly to be Q1 2015, and it was completely absent from the Direct this month. Not a good sign.
No, not really. Maybe April? Hopefully, mate. I'm hoping April.
It didn't even get a mention, like, at all.
Yeah, that was very odd, because, I mean, it has to be somewhat close to being done. It had a stage in Smash Brothers.
Yeah, and it's... Part of me wonders if it was planned to come out before Super Smash Bros. Kind of like how Greninja was planned to be in there before X and Y were officially announced.
Yeah.
Or before Greninja himself was officially announced, because Woolly World was announced actually in the same Direct that Xenoblade Chronicles X was announced in, and honestly, we know more about X than we know about Woolly World.
Oh my gosh, wouldn't that be something if X actually came out before Woolly World?
I think it might, because we know more about X, and that's like with them being purposely cryptic about it.
Oh my gosh. Well, any other thoughts on Xenoblade Chronicles X, whether from the trailer or all this new information that we got?
Not really. I think we pretty much covered everything. A lot of things that they told were, things that we already knew were just introductions of new characters. I will say that Gwyn, one of the new characters they've revealed, they say that, he's the strong guy who really cares for people, but he messes up occasionally. I think we have our next generation Ryan.
Yeah, hopefully. We just need a good catchphrase for him.
Now it's Gwyn time.
Gwyn time? Yeah, I guess so. That's the obvious one. There's going to be a reference to that somewhere in this game.
There has to be, like, the character Lin Li, some places were, like, mistranslating her name as Rin, and, like, I was thinking, like, oh my god, she's totally going to be like, now it's Rin time, and, like, all the stuff.
Oh my gosh. Oh boy, well, I guess we'll have to wait and see. But alright guys, I think that covers it for our Xenoblade Chronicles X discussion. I want to thank Chugga for joining me today, and where can everyone find you at?
Well, first off, thank you so much for having me, and thank you everyone.
No problem.
You can find me at youtube.com/Chuggaaconroy. I do not pronounce the second A, but there are two A's in there.
Okay. And yeah, I'll have a link in the description below, as well as an annotation and all that. So go check him out, especially if you're at all curious about Xenoblade Chronicles. He is still working on that, and I think you're getting close to the end of that game, correct?
I think about a month from now it'll be done, hopefully.
Which actually, in regards to that game, is not too bad. So thank you guys for watching, and if you like this video, be sure to like us on Facebook and Twitter at GameXplain, and of course stay tuned to GameXplain for more on Xenoblade Chronicles X and other things gaming too. Until next time guys, bye.